Hello and welcome to another session of Reminiscing with History Makers. I'm joined today by Darin Riney. Darin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for being here and allowing me to do this.
Mm. So for starters, when did you join APCO?
I've been a member since 2008.
Great. And during your tenure with APCO, tell us about some of the agencies you worked for, the positions you held, and some of those responsibilities.
You bet. When I first joined APCO, I was a frontline dispatcher. And over the years, I worked up through training, supervisor, deputy director, director of operations, chief, and then to my current position as a senior public safety consultant. Along with that, I also served as a reserve police officer, an EMT, and a volunteer firefighter. And all combined, I have over 36 years in public safety. I've been employed in three separate PSAPs in two different states. First agency I was at had about 25 employees, and when I started, we had three people on duty at a time, maybe four, depending on the time of day. Next agency was considerably larger, where I moved up and became the director of operations. Minimum staffing was 12 on the floor. We could have 18 on the floor at a time with overflow capabilities of up to 24 staff. Had almost 100 employees there. And then the last PSAP, when I took the opportunity to really relocate to another state and become chief, that was closer to the first agency where we could have 8 on the floor at that one. So,
Hmm. What initially drew you to join APCO?
when I first joined APCO, the agency I was with, we used APCO EMD, and part of the reason we chose those protocols was the ability at the time to be able to provide in-house trainers for the telecommunications aspect of it and the EMD portions, and that ability to have the protocols change to meet what our medical director and in turn what the responders were doing in the field. Along with that, a couple of people at the state chapter reached out to me to get involved, asking me to take on a couple of roles at the state chapter. And a large factor in joining was that the ability to be engaged and involved and actually have hands on roles in the local chapters.
Hmm. Would you say there was a particular person or event that was influential in getting you to join?
I would say there's a couple of people that was in the state chapter at that time. The chapter president back then, who has now moved up and is overseeing all the statewide communications for the state radio system and everything. So yeah, some good people at the local chapter, and I find that that's pretty consistent. No matter what chapter you're out there, there's people there that they need the help and they need the people, and you need to get involved.
Can you describe for us your APCO activities at the state chapter or national level during your tenure at APCO?
Sure. Um, I had the position of chairman for the Pro Chart Committee at the state chapter, and that was the position that was involved with the human resources aspect of dispatch. And when I was first involved, it was the very beginning of the movement to have dispatchers reorganized and reclassified as first responders. And obviously, that movement continues, and a lot of states have made that recognition. And at the time that I was doing it, it was in the infancy at the push for changes at the state level. It was a push and wait kind of type role, similar to what's being seen at the state and national levels now. States are recognizing dispatchers as first responders, but the holdup at the national level, getting those changes made so dispatchers can receive that federal reclassification. And then another role that I served for several years was as executive council representative for the state chapter. And I served in this capacity for several years, went on to become co-chairman and then chairman of the management committee for the executive council at the national level. Each chapter appoints an executive council representative that's involved at the national level with APCO International, and extremely fulfilling in being able to meet with my counterparts from all the states and international chapters at the annual conference and working through the processes of policy and procedures and many things impacting the totality of APCO International. And during the time as chairman of the management committee, we saw Saudi Arabia group recognized as a formal chapter, added that to the international membership numbers. Being executive council representative was probably the most rewarding experience with APCO. And most recently, I've been accepted as an associate member for the Commercial Advisory Council. And I've just stepped into that role, but I'm excited as to what it may bring, the opportunity to continue to serve PSAPs from the commercial partner side of the spectrum. With that and the friendships made, the ability to see how things truly work at the international organization has been a great experience. helped me to my leadership positions by being able to be a better speaker in public, to run executive meetings in the correct manner with Robert's rules and all that, and giving me the confidence in myself and my abilities to carry myself better in the professional settings.
Well, that's great. Would you say you had a favorite of those activities?
Um, yeah, the executive council, just I don't know a lot of people understand what's actually involved with that, how entailed it is. Um, the monthly calls for executive council, and then your subcommittees that you have executive calls with, the annual conference that you have an all day meeting with. And as the management committee chairman, I was responsible for any new executive council members that came in. We spent a full day training them as to what actually executive council expectations and how things work. It was very fulfilling in that aspect of things.
Mhm. Would you say your APCO membership has had a direct effect on your career in public safety communications?
Absolutely. The training provided, the ability to provide that training, the experience, the expectations of presenting in front of people, the ability to have seemingly unlimited resources of other professionals that you can reach out to for answers. There's been so many people out there that have already been there and done that. And you take that, and in turn, you also become a resource to others. So, absolutely.
Hmm. What do you like most about APCO?
Um, the opportunities to see the cutting edge technology presented every year at the annual conference, the changes in 911 operations, and basically the camaraderie. Everyone wants to make sure everyone goes home at the end of the day. And no matter what, there's someone there that is willing to help and listen with that.
What do you think APCO does better than anyone else?
There are some great public safety related entities out there, but I think the ability to be involved in communities and work groups is one thing APCO really shines at. And I'm not taking away anything from the other organizations and what they do. I just think that because of the sheer number of groups available, that APCO provides a greater ability to be involved at the local, state, and national levels.
Hmm. So now with the advent of NG 911, what do you think APCO needs to do to stay current with those emerging technologies?
I think one of the bigger challenges is making sure that everyone understands that the changes are coming, whether they're wanted or not. Technology is changing, systems are changing, how dispatchers handle things will change along with that technology. And NG911 is more than how the call is handled. It involves how the calls are delivered into the Peace app, how communications are routed, how important GIS is and will become even more so. Cybersecurity is huge, and all that's just going to get bigger. And there's so much more to NG911 than just what the new toys that's going to be available and what people actually see on the front side of things.
Mhm. What stands out to you as a significant contribution during your time in office?
I think because of my experience and the abilities I have developed over the years, being able to serve as a resource to others has been great. The opportunity to serve in groups such as the executive council and as chairman of the management committee taught me some skills I might not otherwise have learned, gave me insights to how groups function and work and or at times don't work. Um, Gave the ability to keep my eyes open while at times keeping my mouth closed. I
Hmm.
received recognition as a senior member of APCO, and I think that sums up contributions that I made during my time with APCO so far. Hopefully, someday I can succeed and become a life member and receive that recognition for the contributions made as well.
That's great. Well, once again, this has been Reminiscing with History Makers. Darin, thank you so much for joining us and sharing.
Betcha. Thank you again for the opportunity.